Shannon Coach here with this month's Small Business Spotlight. Today we are talking with Heather Conroy of Evolve Coaching. I am personally so excited because this is one of the organizations that provides supports for my daughter and has been a tremendous asset in her growth over the past, almost 8 years, I think?
I don't
It's
know,
close.
but it's been a long time.
I feel like it's been forever, but
Yeah.
we love you
great
guys.
to get to know her.
So I absolutely had to share them with everybody that watches. So thank you so much for speaking with me, Heather.
Yeah, of course.
Just want to talk a little bit about, what is Evolve? How did you get it started? Why? What's the story behind Evolve?
Yeah, so Evolve is a nonprofit organization. We're Pittsburgh based. We primarily support autistic and other neurodivergent job seekers, artists, and college students. And so in 2012, I started an LLC and later brought on Joe in that LLC. We'd worked together in a previous organization, and both of us worked with children for several years before then. And then we started to really grasp the huge gap in services for transition age youth and adults. So we started our biggest program, and continues to be our biggest program, is the college support. So that was really where things began. And our proof of concept, if you will, really began at Carnegie Mellon. So we had a lot of students there, and then we were like, okay, we have this for-profit, technically, organization. I say technically, and it was accessible to people who had the money to pay for it. And then we found ourselves doing a lot of we'll just give you services because we want to help.
Right.
So we're we need to make this official. We made it a nonprofit organization in late 2014. So that was a really big step for us. And it was the first step in, seeking grant funding and being able to make our services available to all people from all over, right? So now we see students at various schools. So we're at all of the CCACs, we're at Pitt, we're just everywhere, and we're national at this point too, in terms of the virtual supports that we can offer people. So
Nice.
The work with college students is twice a week. We go to campuses or we meet people online, or some hybrid version of those two things. We're helping people with advocating for themselves, with asking for help, with staying accountable to their goals, and maybe for the first time they're making their own goals, and so we're supporting them through that process. And then also helping them to be work ready. So from that early, focus on college support, we moved into, we really need to make sure that people, whether they have a degree or not, are able to work. Because we live in that society where we all have to work, whether we want to or not. Hopefully most of us do like our work.
Right. Well, everyone likes to do something, and if you can make it a career, that's even better.
Yeah.
But sometimes you just have to work to pay the bills.
Yeah.
So,
And so for though we support a wide sort of array of types of people looking for certain things. If you look at the autistic population alone, 85% of autistic people are unemployed or underemployed.
Yep.
So we were like, okay, we really have to do what we can in this area as well. And so we expanded that program. We go to people to support them on the job. We support people behind the scenes. We just help people to find work, maybe their first job or maybe an executive level job. It really just depends. People from any walk of life might come to us with, I just need to tweak something, or I just need to understand, because I was diagnosed late in life, what this means for
happening
me.
So much.
Yeah, especially women, especially people of color getting late in life diagnoses. So we're, supporting people through that process with a little bit of just education, what is autism, what is ADHD, what is neurodiversity, and then helping them to be able to communicate whatever they feel comfortable with and need to maybe their employers or people at the university level, et cetera, people in their families.
I was actually just going to ask you, because I know I often ask, because I use the phrases neurodiverse and neurotypical, but a lot of people still don't know what those phrases mean. Can you just share a quick definition of what neurodivergent is and neurotypical?
Absolutely. So a quick definition is basically that all of our brains are different, and there is no good brain, bad brain. When people think about autism, you might have heard people talking about my brain is wired differently. So that's a colloquial way of kind of talking about, okay, the brain structure is different, It's not worse, it's not better,
Right.
it's just different. And when we think about diversity in other areas, we're all starting to get a little bit more comfortable with like gender diversity and just like thinking through, okay, how can we be supportive of all types of people, including people with different brains, right?
Right.
And how can those different brains, different from the neurotypical brain, but by the way, like there's a lot of neurodiversity in this world.
Right.
So, you know, just seeing it on sort of a, I don't even want to say spectrum, but just neurodiversity has always existed, and no one brain is exactly like any other brain, and we need to make space for maybe people who, because of their brain structure or genetics, so, you know, they may present differently, they may not give you a warm and fuzzy feeling during an interview, so or they may not give you a warm and fuzzy feeling at the lunch table at school. So
Right.
like, how can we start to make space for people who maybe just behave differently than what we've all been taught to assimilate to? And you know, autistic people and other neurodivergent people can be very efficient, and sometimes that means that, you know, maybe they come off as blunt or rude, but in fact maybe they're direct and they're
Right.
effective at their work, and they don't want to stand at the water cooler,
Right.
and they don't care about maybe, you know, giving you that warm and fuzzy feeling because they're there to do their job. So, you know, I
Oh
think,
my gosh, what?
I know, yeah, so
No,
like,
I know.
I sit
Yes.
at my desk often, and I love the people that I work with, and that's
Yeah.
what makes Evolve so special. We have a team of 21 now.
Yeah.
I love like, we're a family, even though it's not cool to be a family anymore, and that's okay, I understand why. But there are times where I'm like, man, I just really want to speak to this person, but I'm never going to get my work done.
Right.
And I can't multitask in that way. So, and lots of people are yeah. And so, you know, the tendency to do more remote work has been impactful for lots of people for lots of different reasons, but for people with disabilities, it's just made work more accessible, and it's also reduced distractions. We like to do a hybrid version of work because it's really important for us to connect with people, but also, you know, if we have a grant that's due, like I'm not gonna expect someone to come in and sit down and be with like a bunch of chatty people around them.
Right.
You gotta focus, so we have to be flexible.
Yeah. So what kind of, you've touched on like the different types of services that you provide. What would someone be maybe Googling or looking for
Sure.
to provide, that like to find you?
Yeah, well, I didn't mention one program, which is our arts program, so we do have some arts and film and camp related programs that are all really focused around work readiness or college readiness, so they all kind of overlap, but I think that people tend to look for, like, they've heard of life coaching, and they might Google that. They might Google college coaching for autistic people, like, so college coaching and autism would definitely get you to us. But I would say that more than anything, and we're thankful for this, it's like word of mouth that people find us. The city of Pittsburgh is small, the autism community is small, there are a lot of parents like yourself who have had to get a master's degree in like services and you know, what is disability?
It's my unpaid job.
Yes, and you're not alone.
Nope.
And so as much as we can do in terms of like marketing to kind of make things easier for people to find us and be aware of us before maybe they struggle at work or struggle in school, it really does come down to like, you know, most people are finding us because they talk to people like you, or they talk to people in their network, or they're on Facebook writing a message and then they tag someone else.
Yep.
So yeah, that's been most of it. But another great way that people have been finding us over the past several years is with the Office of Vocational Rehabilitation. So if you have any disability, you can qualify for Office of Voc Rehab Services. So that might be getting assistive technology to make your job accessible. It might be getting a job coach, like the work that we do here at Evolve. And they also support college coaching that we do. So there is a process, you have to qualify, but it's worth the application. We haven't seen, I want to knock on wood, like we really haven't seen anyone be denied if they have a disability of any kind. So that's been another great resource for referrals for us. They really care about the community, especially like the Pittsburgh office. We just have a really good relationship with them in particular, though they are all good. It's just been really great to get to know them intimately, and they really understand the services that are available, so I highly recommend them.
So I think that college coaching, and you basically touched on exactly what it is. I think a lot of people might not know exactly what job coaching is, though.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
I know what it is, but
Yes.
would you share? Because I think that the initial, you're just like, okay, do you just go somewhere and learn how to work? Like, but it's more than that. So.
Yeah, job coaching, so for us, our employment coaching service could be, programming to help people prepare a LinkedIn account. Maybe they're not even looking for work yet, so it could be starting really small, all the way up to, getting 40 hours a week of support from us on the job. So anywhere in between is also possible. So people will come to us and say, I have a job, but it's not in my field. Maybe I have this degree, I'm not using it, I'm working in food service and I just don't want to do that anymore, so what's next for me? And so we work with people to figure out what are your strengths, also what things can you tolerate, and what have you learned at your current job that you don't want to tolerate anymore, and can we refine your search to kind of meet your needs and your wants. And then once people do get a job, and people work with us privately or they work with us through the Office of Voc Rehab, like I mentioned, but when people do get a job, we can work with them behind the scenes, so we could check in once a week or twice a week and say, all right, how did today go? And a lot of our work is helping people to write an email to their supervisor if they have a request for an accommodation, or if they just want to make sure they interpreted something correctly or as intended, because maybe they use literal language, or their language literally doesn't match with what their intention was, so we'll have to kind of like decode conversations sometimes with people. So we'll say, well, okay, when your boss said they have an open door policy,
I don't understand what that meant.
Yeah, and it might mean that they're okay with you coming in and talking to them every single day if the door is open. It might not mean that.
Right.
And you often hear, well, if you have any questions, you can come to me anytime. But it's like, maybe you can't come every 10 minutes with the question that pops into your head, and can we help you to kind of like, we've helped people to say, all right, you're gonna wait until you have 3 questions, and then you go talk to your boss. Or what are the questions you can Google, and what are the questions that you can ask for help? So a lot of our folks are self-proclaimed perfectionists, and that means that they want to get it right every time. And so they might go to their boss and ask for like help with the littlest things. So this is just like one presentation of maybe like what it might look like for one of our clients, but just to give you sort of a concrete example of what that can look like. So we're working with people to say, all right, what can you do differently? Could you text me at work? Or would you like me to come in? Or, can we have a meeting with me, you, and your supervisor? There are a lot of ways that we can problem solve things. Sometimes we're working with people to disclose their diagnosis. So I mentioned the warm and fuzzy feeling that people get during an interview process or don't get during that interview process. So sometimes if you know that like you don't have a history of connecting in that way or meeting the expectations of that interview, maybe we just talk to you about like explaining why before they start questioning. So saying, I may not look you in the eye when I'm thinking about responding to your question, and here's why. And it could be I'm autistic, or it could be I just need a little bit more time to process. Like it really depends on what people's comfort level is. With talking about that label, and by the way, I said autistic and have said that, so we default to using identity first language, and even though I'm a social worker and I was trained extensively to use person first language, which would be a person with autism or a person with a disability, there's a movement among advocates to claim autism. I am autistic, I am disabled, and that is okay. So it's tricky. I think I'm finally very comfortable with that, but it was a hard transition for me to start using that. So just for the folks watching, if that's something they're going, why is she speaking that way?
I've had people kindly say, you know, you're supposed to say they have autism.
Yeah,
And then
right.
there's a great article, I think it's from the, I don't wanna misquote who it's from, but it's a great article on person versus, disability, like the person versus identity first.
Person first, yeah.
And I share and I just say, you know, my daughter says that she's autistic, so I say autistic
Okay.
people, I say my daughter's autistic.
Yeah,
If she were to tell me that she has autism, that is her decision, and I'm not
Exactly.
gonna argue with her.
right,
You know,
yeah,
you either have brown hair or you're brunette, you're
Right.
not wrong either way.
exactly.
It's
That's
whatever the
great.
person tells you
Yeah.
they are,
Yeah,
you don't
Yep.
correct them, because it's,
yeah.
but I
And-
default to
And the
autistic also,
reason, and
yes.
the reason for that default is like, if there's a label that you are proud of or ambivalent about,
Yeah.
you typically use what the adjective, right?
Mhm.
So, am I getting that right? Let me think of an example. So, yeah, like I have autism as a noun, right?
Right,
Or I'm autistic, that's something that would describe you. And so, people who are Christian, don't say I'm a person with Christianhood.
Right,
Or, you know,
right.
I am a Christian.
right, I am not a part of Christianity, I'm a Christian,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
something I identify
that's a good one,
with.
yeah.
So I love your brunette, brown hair example, because it's just about preference, and
Mhm.
we're getting really comfortable with asking people about their pronouns.
Yeah.
We can ask people about their preference, or just model what they're using,
Mhm.
in terms of their disability labels as well.
Yeah, because you do a great job of listening to people that are autistic
Mm.
and not
Mhm.
leaving them out of the conversation, which is fantastic.
to,
I mean,
yeah.
it's, you listen to the parents obviously also, but I mean, first and foremost, I can speak that they definitely put the person that they are providing the service to and working with first.
Thank you.
Oh, what about the future of Evolve? What do you
Yeah.
have? I know what your big vision is. It's something that I kind of always share
Yeah.
with people, so.
Yeah, so this year we'll be celebrating our 10th year as a nonprofit organization, so, and it's also a leap year, so I'm calling this Evolve's leap year.
Okay.
Because it is a big year for us. So I mentioned we have our 21st employee right now, that's huge for us. You know, when we started, it was Joe and me, and we were like, we'll have a small private practice.
Right.
But because
You'll
of
take
the
5, I'll take 5, and that'll be
need-
it.
Yeah, we grew. So, so that will continue to expand, our staff will grow. And we also have this amazing building in Garfield, the east end of Pittsburgh, that we are fundraising to renovate, and we're about halfway there. We're waiting on some state funds, so we're very hopeful about that.
Yeah.
So things are looking really good, and we'll probably start demo within the next few months, and then hopefully everything will just kind of fall into place. But that's big for us, because we want to, right now we're in this lovely co-working space, which we really enjoy. This is artwork from our community of artists who know Evolve, and we can't wait to just fill a whole gallery with this artwork, and you know, have shows highlighting different artists, at least quarterly is our goal.
Okay. Because right now you do the annual
We do.
arts gala.
Yeah, our
Gala?
Evening of Arts for Autism.
Thank you. I'm like,
Yeah.
I know the name of it,
So
but
that'll be
it's a
October
big thing.
5th this year
Okay.
at Rockwell Park, so very fun, great opportunity to celebrate artists and give them some money for their artwork. Like, it's just, we love that event.
And all of the artists are neurodivergent.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's wonderful too.
And
Gives them a
already-
great chance to showcase their work.
Yeah, and so sometimes people are like experienced, they've had their artwork in many shows, and then for some people it's their very first show and they're just
Yeah.
over the moon about it, and so are we, so it's just like a really great event.
Yeah.
So we'll have a gallery space in this new building, it's called the Evolve Coaching Inclusion Center. We will also have paid work opportunities in the lower level. We'll have a new media center, so captioning, editing, filmmaking in general will be happening in there. Audio descriptions, so I'll just share what that is because it's new-ish to me, which is, so for blind and low vision audience members of any filmed content, audio descriptions describe what's seen on screen. So Shannon walks into the room and sits down in a chair and looks at Heather, right? So like describing what happens whenever there's a lull in dialogue, we can fit that in there to describe what's happening.
But also you do that a lot on social media, and I've been paying attention to that because in the descriptions and the captions of your Instagram stories, you describe what is in the photo, and it'll say, you know, a woman with brown hair
Yeah.
wearing black pants and a black top, and you describe the whole thing, and it's a
Mhm.
wonderful way to be able to include people who may not be able to
Yeah.
articulately see
Yeah.
what's there,
Yeah.
still be able to visualize some
Mhm.
way what is happening and bringing them into that. And that's just
Yeah.
one of those, it takes a few extra seconds to write
Yeah.
that caption,
Right.
you know, and you're able to reach
Mhm.
thousands of people, which is,
Yeah.
it really is just a very simple, quick
Yeah.
and easy thing that can
Yeah.
really change someone's
Mhm.
life, you
And
know?
that's called alt text.
Yes,
So
that was the one of
sometimes
it, thank you.
sometimes that's visible. Like on Instagram,
Mhm.
there's no way at this point to do it in a hidden manner.
Mhm.
But I really like that because it's the one platform where everybody just sees it and they
Right.
go, well, I wonder what that's for. And we've
Right.
had that question and then I get to tell them and they're like, oh, I never thought of that.
Right,
Whereas with Facebook and LinkedIn and things like that, a screen reader is able to read it kind of behind the scenes.
Right.
But I like the idea of kind of just putting it out there sometimes anyway.
yeah,
So we'll do that work. We do that for our own content. We partner with lots of other nonprofit organizations as well to support them with their own video content and making that accessible. And then the third floor will be our independent living training program.
Okay.
So we will have a full kitchen and laundry and a bedroom suite that will allow people to learn to cook together, you know, how to host a meal, how to clean a bathroom, you know,
Yeah.
all of that fun and not so fun stuff
Right.
to prepare people to live on their own.
so what is your overall goal for the city of Pittsburgh?
Oh yeah, so we have this really fun slogan. We want to make Pittsburgh autism's most livable city.
I love it.
And yeah, I mean, that's really just about including all types of people. I mean, there's obviously a lot of, you know, companies with DEI strategies and that is extremely important. And I want us to be in a place where like we don't have to have special programs to
Mhm.
do that, but it's just second nature and we're
Mhm.
including people from the start and we're, you know, thinking about universal design, like what steps can we put in place, you know, at our building. We're thinking really intentionally about what colors will be on the wall, you know, to
Yes.
make it not distracting but also interesting and
Mhm.
you know, how can we make our spaces welcoming? I mean, I think about how many spaces when we were looking for our building are inaccessible in Pittsburgh and it's just one step.
So, I just
Yeah.
shared about this on a radio program.
Yeah.
We talked about how basically because of institutions,
Yes.
people were kept out of public, and now they're closing, yay, but we're not ready for them. And
Yeah.
so many buildings, and especially in Pittsburgh and like the older
Mhm.
cities, you know, they're not even big enough for a wheelchair.
No.
You know,
Right.
or
Yeah.
one step can really be debilitating.
Yes.
Not having the proper, being able to turn a corner,
Definitely.
you know, things like that.
Yeah.
Or even, we talked about ADA, which is, it's wonderful, but it's the bare minimum.
It is the bare minimum.
It is,
Yep.
this is what I have to do.
Yeah.
You're thinking well beyond that because of the people that you serve.
Yes.
And
for
that
example,
shouldn't be the bare minimum, but it's,
Yeah.
you should take that into consideration.
For example, code, whatever, like requirements, do not, so you have a new building, but your doorway just has to be, it doesn't have to be accessible to all people, right? So maybe I'm in a wheelchair and I try to get into a space, but I can't forcefully push the door open and if there's no button, that's not required to have that button.
Just the ability to go through, not to
Yeah.
open it.
Yeah, exactly. So you'd always have to have someone with
I
you
did
to
not know
open
that.
that door. And those doors are heavy a lot of the time,
Yeah.
and rightly so, because they want to like, it's about security. you
Sure.
know. So
Anything else that you would like to share about Evolve? Oh, do you want to share your summer programs?
sure, yeah.
Okay.
We have a summer program called Future Camp, which is July 29th through August 9th. That happens at Winchester Thurston School. Our deadline for applications is May 30th. There's a scholarship deadline on May 15th, so I don't know when this will come out, but you're a quick editor, I
Yep.
think. Yeah. So that's, people can reach out if they have any questions about that, but the camp is arts focused, various classes happen, writing, performance, music, and then we do a group project together, which is exciting this year, but I can't share what it is. yet.
Okay. I don't
Um,
like spoilers anyway,
Yeah,
so.
and then we also have some work programs, something called a professional connection experience, in partnership with the Office of Voc Rehab, OVR. That's a 2-week program where people get work readiness the first week. So again, LinkedIn, resume building, thinking about interviews, just what are my strengths, what are my challenges. And then the second week is, going off-site to visit job sites. So that's tiring and challenging and very valuable all at the same time.
I was gonna say, I can definitely tell you though, it's very much enjoyed
Yeah.
and it's opened a lot of different opportunities.
Awesome.
And if you're looking at this at any time, so those are the 2024 dates, so if you're watching this in the future, those are both annual programs at this time.
Yes.
And so you can just go to their website. What's
Yeah.
the website?
Yeah, evolve-coaching.org.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they are in Pittsburgh, and any other contact information that you'd share? You're on Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah, and I'm terrible at always remembering the tags, sorry, but
No, it's okay.
our
I
handles,
feel like
whatever.
it's at Evolve Coaching,
It's one of,
I
that's
think.
for one of them, I don't know
Okay.
which, but you can find us easily
Yeah.
on Instagram and LinkedIn and Facebook. We're not really on Twitter, maybe one day, but we just don't get down with that.
It's-
Oh, and also it's not
It's not even Twitter anymore, except for now it's X, formerly Twitter, so it's still Twitter.
Okay.
I don't know, that's.
Yeah, but the website will take you to all of those places, so evolve-coaching.org is the best place to start. Great.
Well, thank you so much for your
Thank
time, I
you.
really appreciate it, and
Yeah,
please,
thank you.
please check them out. Like she said, they do a lot of fundraising, if you're interested in supporting in that way,
Yeah.
and just learn more, share it, and I can't wait to see what you guys do.
Thank you.
It's gonna be great, you're
Thank
going to
you.
achieve that goal for Pittsburgh, I know it,
Yes.
so.